This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of April 9th, 2023. Content authenticity statement: 100% of this newsletter was written by me, the human, with no contribution from AI except the displayed outputs. Actually, no, there aren't any displayed outputs this week. It's just me. What's on my mind this week? What's coming with generative AI? My friend Ann Hanley posed the implicit question in a recent blog post on her blog, asking the question, what's coming with generative AI? It's an interesting question with a lot of different answers. Let's tackle where the field of generative AI appears to be going and what you and I should be doing about it. First, the big public generative models like OpenAI's GPT-4 will keep getting bigger. GPT-4 is interesting in that it didn't really introduce any new knowledge to its codex. The model is still stuck in September 2021 as the last date it has knowledge. And boy, has a lot happened since then. But what did change from Model 3.5 to Model 4 is the increase in the number of parameters it has by an order of magnitude. They haven't publicly said what it is, but most estimates peg it somewhere around 500 billion parameters. What does that mean? In non-technical terms, it's able to remember more and generate more. The more parameters a model has, and a parameter is nothing more than a probability, statistical probabilities. A model is basically a big library of probabilities. The more parameters a model has, the bigger its pattern recognition gets. A model with 100 million parameters can remember a sentence it's written, maybe two. Way back in the early days of GPT-2, which was like 3 years ago, you'd notice the model started to generate nonsensical gibberish after a paragraph or two because it had effectively forgotten what it had written. When GPT-3 came out a year later, it was able to remember and generate coherent paragraphs, several at a time, before it started to lose its way. If you were skillful with prompts and lucky, you might even get a short page of text out of it that was coherent. GPT-4, the latest generation of this model, it can do multiple pages of text. How do we know? The answer is in the developer's documentation, which is where all the good stuff is stored. The documentation given to programmers and developers tells us how much the model can expect to ingest and take in terms of prompts, and how much it can spit out. If you look back to the documentation from the past, developers could send 1,024 tokens, word fragments or small words, to the old GPT-2 model and generate about that many. 1,024 tokens comes out to about 700 words, because a big word like documentation is going to consume a couple of different tokens. GPT-3 permitted about 2,048 tokens, or give or take, which is about 1,500 words. That's what it can take in. That's what it can spit out. GPT 3.5, the model that ChatGPT, the web interface, uses by default, can accept and generate about 4,096 tokens or word fragments, which is about 3,000 words. In the API, the application programming interface that developers use to talk to these models, for GPT-4, that extends all the way out to 32,000 tokens, or about 24,000 words. What that means is that the publicly available generative language models have gone from cranking out a paragraph at a time to cranking out a novella at a time. What will a future GPT-5 in a year and a half's time be able to do? Probably about 64,000 tokens, about 45,000 words, which is the average length of a business book. Put a book in and tell this futuristic model that's 18 months away or so to rewrite it in Aramaic or entirely in emoji, whatever. The trade-off is that as each model gets bigger, it requires more and more computational power to create and to use. But for the public and for companies that just want to get up and go, these will be the models that we will use, and we're going to love them. Right? They're going to get better and better because their memories get longer and longer. Think for a moment about every story you've ever started to enjoy but couldn't complete because the work was left undone. Maybe the author stopped writing the fan fiction you were reading, right? Maybe the TV show got canceled before it could wrap up all the loose ends, or any of the loose ends. Looking at you, Warrior Nun, and Legends of Tomorrow. Maybe the podcast just went off the air. Whatever the case may be, with today's and especially future large language models, it will be feasible for the average person, a non-technical person, to feed in the story as it is, unfinished, and get a logical completion of the story. Would it be what the original author wrote? Maybe. Maybe not, but it will exist nonetheless. The same is true for any large text work. Suppose I fine-tuned GPT-4, which you can't currently do, but that's coming soon. Suppose I fine-tuned it on all my blog posts and books, but I didn't really feel like writing my next book. Or I felt like maybe dictating a bunch of disconnected thoughts and then gave the pile of random thoughts and an outline to GPT-4 as a prompt. Could it write my next book for me? Yep. Would it be as good as me handcrafting it? Probably not as a final product, no, but it'd get me 95% of the way there, and then all I have to do is edit it. So what do you do about bigger models? What's the key takeaway? Plan for their use. Start thinking about the long-form content you'd like to get them to tackle. Right? Is there an ebook or a book that you've been meaning to write and you just haven't gotten around to it? Have you got stuff laying around, text that you want to process? Right? Start designing the extensive multi-page prompts they're going to need to generate the results you want. Start today so that when these features become publicly accessible, you are ready. So, when it comes to generative models, bigger isn't always better, which brings us to point number 2. Computationally, these multi-billion or soon-to-be trillion parameter models are slow. If you've tried GPT-4, it's slow, right? It's costly to operate, and it's prone to weirdness because, let's face it, they have the sum total of human language in them in some capacity. And when you work with humanity as a whole, things get weird by default. We are a weird species. We write weird things. The second place in terms of the future that these models are going is smaller. Smaller? Why smaller? Because what we're seeing more and more is companies creating purpose-built custom models that are focused on a specific task. They start with a very small model, like Yolothra AI's GPT-J6B model. It's a 6 billion parameter model, which is really tiny by comparison. It's small enough that you can tune it and run it on a gaming laptop, right? You could run it on your kid's gaming laptop. And then these companies fine-tune these models, which is tech speak for just retraining them, on one specific domain of expertise. The model can no longer write fan fiction or make guitar tabs out of lyrics or write limericks, but it can do its functional focus very, very well, better than any of the big models. We saw this recently with the announcement of Bloomberg GPT, which is Bloomberg LP's custom-built model programmed to do one specific thing, financial analysis. Within the Bloomberg terminal, the venerable 41-year-old software package that forms the backbone of the entire Bloomberg business, subscribers who pay like $2,000 a month for this thing can now ask natural language questions of their data. For example, an analyst could say, hey, find me 10 stocks that have a dividend greater than 10% that have shown positive growth in the last 5 years, and get an accurate answer, right? Yeah, it can't write jokes for you, but it can tell you how to get rich. Right? That's what a purpose-built model does. Within the marketing domain, our friends and colleagues over at GoCharlie have released their, as they call it, the Charlie language model. It's a custom-tuned model specifically made just for content marketing. It also can't rewrite the lyrics to Guns N' Roses songs very well, but it's a lot more knowledgeable about creating and processing marketing content. This is the second avenue we're going to see a lot more of in the coming months. Any forward-thinking company that has a lot of data that's difficult to process for the average end user is looking at building custom models for their specific domain, because the model doesn't have to be able to do everything. It just needs to be able to do a small number of things really, really well. And here's the secret about custom models. The more tuned they are for a specific task, the shorter and less specific your prompts have to be, because you don't need nearly as many guardrails in place. It's not going to start quoting, Attila the Hun. It is going to be focused on just the task you have in front of it. Its domain knowledge is so focused, there's much less ambiguity in prompting them. Any software company that has even a moderately complex interface is or should be looking at integrating a custom LLM to its interface to simplify tasks. If the company isn't, a competitor is, and that competitor is going to eat the legacy player's lunch. This is true of any company that has a lot of text data to work with, right? And has complicated software. For example, Adobe had better be looking at large language models for tools like Photoshop. Imagine the power given to the average user to just say, hey, make this black and white photo in color and remove my X from it. Rather than needing to follow the 54 clicks and menus needed to do the same thing. It will just interpret that and do it. Will it be perfect? No. Will it be better than what a true Photoshop expert can do? No. Will it be better than what an untrained user can do? Absolutely. And that's the benefit of these kinds of models. Large language models and generative AI rarely create something better than what a true expert can do. More often than not, they create mediocre to good results, but rarely excellent and never ever unique, never before seen results. That's because their very nature is an averaging of what already exists, tuned to deliver above average content. Above average never beats expert, never beats world class, but a fair amount of the time, we don't need to beat world class on many tasks. Above average, or even frankly mediocre, is an improvement, right? I am a completely incompetent musician. I have no musical skills whatsoever. I know what I like in music, but I can't create it for the life of me. Like, I'm literally face rolling on a piano, right? Can an AI create music on my behalf? Yes. Is it good? It's good enough for use cases where it doesn't matter very much. Like background in a video, right? If you have background music in a video, that the video is not about music. It's, me showing Google Analytics or something. Is anyone paying attention to that background music? No. Is it there? Yes. Is good enough to satisfy the idea I have in my head that I don't know how to bring out of my head because I don't have the physical skills? Yes. Is it better than hiring a true professional musician? No. But it's good enough, right? Think about the text that you have and what you could train a model to do. Think about it in a way like a custom search engine, but a custom model that can answer people's questions. This one's for you, Ann Handley. Think about all the content, the decades of content that Marketing Profs has, right? All that text. What if you trained a Marketing Profs language model to answer marketers' questions using the vetted, curated knowledge that Marketing Profs has accumulated over the last 2 decades? That's what you can do with these models. That would create enormous value. The third area, which is coming very, very soon for the non-technical user, is what's called multimodal. Technical users can already access this in big models like OpenAI's GPT-4 through the API. There's a very lengthy waitlist for access. I'm still on the waitlist. This is the transformation of one mode of data to another. This is where we give a model an input that is not words, but words are the output. And in the future, we'll see a convergence where we put in words and get non-words output. We already have some experiences with tools like Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and DALL-E, which can take word prompts and generate images, but that's a separate kind of model. It's a diffuser, not a transformer, which is what the GPT family is. The reverse is now possible as well. Take an image and have the model transform it into words. Imagine taking a photograph from a conference and having the machine write up what it sees, right? Imagine taking a screenshot from your Google Analytics account or your sales CRM and having the machine write a summary of your data. That's what multimodal really is all about, the ability to transform things in and out of words. I saw a quote on LinkedIn from Andrei Karpathy that I think encapsulates this beautifully. He said, "The hottest programming language in 2023 is English." This is wholly accurate. If you can write words in any language, not just English, by the way, I've had some excellent success with GPT-4 in Danish, for example, just doing stuff natively in Danish. It works great. But if you can write words, you can program machines to do what you want them to do. I've fed my models Google Analytics data, and I've had them write marketing recommendations, and they've been good. They've been pretty good. Perfect? No. 95% of the way there? Yes. I've had models reverse engineer songs just from lyrics, transforming them to guitar tablatures that sound decent. I had an actual professional musician play what the thing had spit out, and they were like, yeah. I mean, a lot of pop music sounds the same anyway, so what it spit out was good enough. The key takeaway here is to start looking for non-word inputs like images that you need to perform repetitive tasks on and plan for how you're going to use them with large language models. Now, the final place these models are going, the final place generative AI is going, is with text-like inputs that aren't really text, but can be used as text. What does that mean? Take a genetic sequence. A genetic sequence can be represented with 4 letters, A, T, G, and C, right? These are the proteins that form DNA. And you have long strings of these things like A, G, T, C, C, T, G, A, etc. Huge strings of text that represent DNA, that represent chromosomes, that represent proteins. These 4 base pairs of DNA can be written out as text. Now, suppose instead of making limericks, you purpose-built a model to only work with DNA and RNA, but otherwise use the same underlying technology, the transformer technology. What could you do if you input genetic data? What could you have them generate or forecast or summarize or extract, the main tasks that these models do? Novel gene therapies, vaccine candidates, right? You put a sequence of RNA in from a virus that you've just newly identified. Maybe it's a novel virus of some kind. And you say, hey, what are some vaccine candidates to go after this thing? That would have been handy about 3 years ago, wouldn't it? Understanding of protein foldings and misfoldings, right? There's so many weird things that can happen with protein folding in the body. Being able to take text and manipulate it with a transformer-based model could dramatically increase our understanding of how these things work and predict what's likely to happen. This is literally the cure for cancer, right? Literally the cure for cancer. That's what the technology behind tools like GPT-4 and ChatGPT, which is the web interface, are capable of with enough training and specificity. They're capable of working with text-like data and making predictions from that text-like data. I can't imagine that the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world aren't already doing this, aren't already training their models. If they're not, they're missing the boat, right? They're missing the huge opportunity. If you work with one of them and you're missing the boat, yeah, call us. This is where things are going with generative AI. Bigger models, custom models, multimodal, and non-text applications. If we do this well as a society, as a civilization, we will see enormous benefits and huge leaps in progress in every field, in every industry. If we do it badly, we'll see dramatically worsened income inequality and scarcity battles everywhere. But good or bad, this is the direction things are going in the very near future. And I mean like a year away or less, right? We're not talking decades from now. We're talking a year away or less. Are you ready? Is your company ready? Shameless plug. This is all offered as a talk I'm doing for companies at events. So if you'd like me to do this talk at your company, let's chat. There's a link in the newsletter. All right. So what else has happened this week? What else is in the news? Besides, of course, I think we're like down to 86 or 84 days until Google Analytics 4 is the only version of Google Analytics you can use. So if you haven't switched over, take the course that's in the newsletter so you do that sooner rather than later. This past week, we did a great live stream on Thursday on marketing mix modeling. You'll get a chance to see how it works and whether or not you can trust it. So check that link out in the In Case You Missed It section. Also did a thing on representation, why banking is so unstable, content grades, Instagram algorithm changes, and there's so much stuff that's been happening. So go check those out. For courses and classes, I've got the new marketing AI talk up. Make sure you go watch that. I filmed it last week in London. It's still mostly up to date, right? There's a couple sections I'm going to be adding. I'm going to be doing this talk next in May. So there's going to be some new stuff, but it's still mostly current. Watch it while you can. But also, a lot of people are getting a lot of benefit from the free LinkedIn profile course on how to improve your LinkedIn profile. So go check that out as well. Jobs this week, we have Digital Content Communications Manager at the Nuclear Energy Institute. We have Google Ads Specialist at Rubix, Head of Sales at Test Double, Manager of Marketing Technology at Bath and Body Works. That must be interesting. Manager of Analytics at TopStack, Marketing Content Management Analyst at Yo. Kind of a fun name for a company. Senior Content Manager at Test Double, Social Media Strategist at Hinckley, and VP of Marketing Strategy and Lead Generation at Air Room. AI Room? I don't know how you pronounce that company's name, but there you go. So that's what's happening there. In the news this week, huge surprise, mostly ChatGPT and generative AI. Meta is coming out with their suite of tools that they're promising is going to be awesome. I hope it does better than their last attempts at it, because the last attempt was a flaming disaster. New 20-minute TikTok format for influencers and brands. So if you like TikTok, you're about to get a whole lot more of it. I hope there's some kind of warning like when you're scrolling through TikTok. It's like, hey, this thing's 20 minutes long. TikTok users are apparently more open to in-app promotions, according to a new report. So selling stuff there. Crafting buyer personas that work. Google, of course, still trying to get Bard to do what we want it to do. Publishers are testing generative AI tools to boost SEO, according to Digiday, which, again, no surprise there. LinkedIn released new ChatGPT-based AI tools in just 3 months. Italy has banned ChatGPT because they say it violates the right to be forgotten. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out, not just for ChatGPT, but for all large language models. Google is sunsetting 4 attribution models in Google Analytics and Google Ads. They're leaving the data-driven attribution model and the ads first, last click model. I have some opinions about this, but I'm not going to voice them here. Go over to Analytics for Marketers, our free Slack group, so you can hear me rant about that there with all the sarcasm that it is properly due. Got 2 new books to check out. My friend Laura Gassner-Otting's new book, Wonder Hell, which is the book about what to do when things are going great and you're miserable. It's an excellent book. And my friend Lena's new book on poetry, none of which was written by AI. So that's some stuff coming up. Events, I'll be at Analytica's B2B Influencer Summit in April 2023. Hey, Ashley, if you're watching, did I tell you I bought B2Binfluencermarketing.com? Bought it like a year ago. Let me know if you want it. B2B Ignite in Chicago in May, ISBM in Chicago in September. I'll also be at Content Marketing World in September. Just got to work out the travel logistics on that. And the Marketing Profs B2B Forum in October of 2023. So lots of events coming up. Huge surprise. That's all going to be the AI talk in some form. So that's what's going to be happening. But that's the news for this week. I hope that was useful to you. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.